everyone. I'm Andy Powell. I'm a geek. I say that with some intrepidation because when I was a child, being a geek wasn't a cool thing. In fact, on several occasions, it got me beat up. But the reality was, because of that, because of my passion for technology and computing and things like that, I ended up with a digital career. So I've worked in programming and software and web development and things like that. And because of that, I've never really been tied to a desk. And as a result, I've been able to work in some fantastically interesting places. This is a makerspace in Liverpool called DOES. I'm not going to tell you what that stands for. You'll figure that out one day by yourself. And if any of you were here for the last TED Talk, you might recognise this guy up at the back. That's Adrian McEwen. Does a lot of work with IoT, and Cayman spoke here last time. Now, DOES is a makerspace. It's a community-run space where people can go and do interesting things. What you might find is, because of my age, I will keep referring to it as a hack space. Fashions change, but what happens in these spaces continues. But for one reason or another, I stopped working in Liverpool and came back to Oldham, where I grew up. And what I found was, throughout Manchester, there are lots and lots of interesting spaces. Spaceport, Mad Lab, Hack Manchester. But the problem was, I didn't find what I had found in Liverpool. I didn't find the sense of community. In fact, the thing that was missing was a family. What worked really well in Liverpool was I was able to bring my own children to the space and get them involved and follow my passions. And there wasn't really anything around Manchester that allowed me to do that. Now, not long after I came back to Oldham, I did a soldering course with a guy called Mitch Altman, one of the spaces, Mad Lab. Mitch Altman founded Noisebridge, a hack space in San Francisco, and there's a really interesting TED Talk that he did at TEDx Brussels, talking about creating a makerspace, how that if these things didn't exist, you could go out and start one for yourself. Now, shortly after that, I was at a networking event here at Oldham Library, and I just happened to end up sitting next to another web developer who was also interested in the idea of starting a makerspace. Now, this is where it got really interesting. There's a talk by a gentleman called Derek Sivers about the concept of a first follower, how you start a movement. And the key thing is the first follower is the thing that, or he describes it as the first follower is the person that changes you from being a lone nut to being a leader. And at that point, something's actually starting to happen. So, as with many a good idea, we retired to the pub, and we spent the next few months meeting up once a month in a pub with a little service running on a website called Meetup, encouraging other people to come along and talk to us and find out what was going on. And we ended up with a core group of people that were kind of interested in the idea of having our own space that we could make and do as we pleased. Yeah, they don't look too professional, do they? But we get things done. So what we found was there was a lot of parallels between what we wanted and what the libraries wanted. Now, one thing I found that from the talk earlier on and from what I've seen of the libraries over the last few months, my impression of libraries was wrong. When I was young, when I was growing up, I thought libraries were about books. But they're not, they're about knowledge. Knowledge isn't held within books anymore. It used to be that that was the only place to go. But it's very much a case that libraries these days are a hub for knowledge, so they fit in very much with the kind of things that we're interested in. So we started running this thing called Hack the Library, which was we brought our toys, our laptops, our computers, plunked them on a table and just encouraged people to get involved and play with things. And that helped us grow. Between us, we started to acquire more bits of kit, like an Oculus Rift virtual reality headset, which is upstairs if anyone wants to have a go at lunch. And people came along, and here's some cosplay elements that one of the members was making that we showed kids how to make and get them involved. But after a little while, we needed to start doing rather more dirty things that we don't tend to be allowed to do in the library. We tend to get in trouble if we make too much mess. So we found ourselves a little workshop, and that's just around the corner from here. And as we continued, the membership grew and grew and grew. Now, when we moved into the workshop, it wasn't in a great condition. It had been a former joiners workshop. It had been empty for a couple of years. We basically ended up removing 2 skips full of sawdust and God knows what else. But we made it into something that we could use. We made it into a little hub that people could go and share tools and resources and knowledge. And one of the key things that we always wanted to get across is that it isn't just about technology, it's about creativity and knowledge. So there's a wide array of crafts and textiles and things that most people wouldn't associate with a hack space. But it continues to grow, and we've now got something in the region of about 50 members. So from our initial core 6 people that were interested in the idea, in 6 months of being in a joiner's workshop in a back street that nobody sees, we've grown and grown and grown. People want to do these things. So I don't know if anyone recognises this film, but the principle is kind of real. We built it and people came. And we grew and grew and grew to the point that our Minecraft club, for example, on a Wednesday afternoon is absolutely heaving. There are more people that want to do these things than we can possibly manage with where we are at the moment. So what have we achieved since we opened the doors in April? Well, we've grown to 50 members, which is phenomenal, really, from where we started. We've had over 200 guests come through the door. These are people that come to individual events. They might come to the Textiles Club. They might come to the WordPress user group. They're not a member of the space. They just come and get involved for little bits and pieces. We've live streamed a number of events around Oldham. We've live streamed shows from Mark. We've live streamed the Rainy City Roller Girls. We're live streaming this. And we're doing it with free software and old battered bits of hardware and anything we can find. We've supported local businesses. We've helped people with social media. We've helped prototype product development. We're introducing Incline Press, a letterpress company around the corner from the space, which is an ancient tradition of a printing technology. We're introducing to laser cutting so you can reproduce printing blocks that haven't been made for 50 or 100 years. 3 businesses have started in the space. A creative environment kind of encourages people to get out there and do something, and whether it's something to earn a living or whether it's something to do for fun, it just encourages that kind of attitude. But returning to my original point, we're changing lives. As I mentioned before, as a child, I was bullied because of my geeky passions, because I wasn't into football or music or things like that. And one of the kids that has started coming to the space, her mum posted this on our Facebook afterwards, basically saying, hey, my daughter said tonight, that's where I want to work when she grows up. She's found her people. She's no longer an outsider that has these interests that no one else is interested in. She's realised that these interests are things that can develop into successful people with successful careers who do these kind of things because that's what they want to do and that's what they want to share. So this is kind of where my story ends and your story begins. We're wondering what's next. Well, there's many, many things that can happen next. One of the key things is we're looking to grow into a bigger space. And we want more and more of you to come along and get involved and share your passion with someone. And if you're not from Oldham and you're not near a makerspace, go out there and start one. It's surprisingly easy. Just find some friends that share a passion and go and be creative. And say that's the thing that I would leave you with, that don't be a consumer anymore, create something. What that is entirely up to you. Thank you.